Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this is a piece of London plane. We have turned it before on the channel a few times. If you remember the Scotland Yard bowl, that was this wood, but this is a burl piece and it has the potential to be absolutely magnificent. You can just about make out on the surface of this wood all the beautiful fine burl pattern. So once this gets a finish on it, I'm sure it's going to be absolutely amazing. Now we've just got to make sure that we can make the most of it. Now we have a wonderful spalting pattern through the base, which goes a little way up the side on there, on the same here, and there's a bit more up there. So hopefully we can keep a little bit of that in the end design. But I would really like to try and focus on this very lumpy and bumpy surface. I want this to be the top of the piece. Now on the top we do have a few hairline cracks which will come into play because the edge of the bowl, if we manage to turn it this way, will be this surface. So hopefully they don't go in too far and we can take care of them nice and easily. So I think the first thing to do is to mark out a circle where we want to cut this, because I don't want a square bowl, I want a nice round one. And it would be nice to be able to save some of this wood for other projects. Now we make things like rings and pens as well, so that's a reasonable size for the bowl. I'm going to go and cut out the corners so we can save those scraps, and then I'm going to take a Forstner bit and drill down into the center here so I can either get it onto some jaws or onto a worm screw. Okay, so there we go, all cut, all trimmed out, and a nice hole drilled into the center for our chuck. Now this bit of a burl here is just rubbing against the side of the chuck and I don't want it to get in the way, so I'm just going to quickly nip this off with a chisel. It's not going to need much, that should do it. Right, and now we can get this nice and safely on the lathe. Okay, nice and safely on the lathe. The wood's looking pretty good. Maybe a couple of issues that we've seen on the top, but hopefully it'll be okay. And this is really quite a wonderful burl, so I'm looking forward to seeing what we can make out of it. Now I do have, winging its way over from foreign lands, some more incredible pieces of wood for us to turn together. So if you're interested in seeing some of the most magnificent wood you've ever seen in your entire life, hit that subscribe button and you'll get to see it as soon as it arrives. Now initially we're turning at about 850 RPM. We'll just quickly flatten off the base and start working up this edge and get it round, and then see if we can figure out what shape we're going to create. Okay, nice start. Not cutting it fully round yet, but it's a good indication of what this wood is like underneath. We may have a couple of soft areas in places because we have got spalting, and spalting is caused by wood being left in a damp condition, so there is a possibility of some punkiness somewhere, but at the moment it's not looking too bad. Right, I'm going to carry on getting this round, start shaping this bottom a little bit more, and keep on going until something comes to me. Okay, we've still not quite finished getting this round yet. We've still got a couple of flat areas. The last few cuts there, I was just starting to round over the top to match what I'd done with the base. I had initially thought, when I was looking at this piece before I put it on the lathe, it might be nice to have a nice narrow foot and a very shallow curve down into it. But I've done a few of those recently, and I'd like to make something a little bit more useful. Not that the other pieces aren't useful, but we've got a nice big piece of burl, so it'd be nice to create some sort of functional fruit bowl or something like this from it. So I started turning over that top, which I like, so we need to continue getting this round, fold over the top a little bit more, and then figuring out what we're going to do on the base. Okay, have we got rid of those flat spots? Yes, we have. Excellent. Right, another good outcome of having this more rounded design is that we get to try and keep as much of this spalting as possible, which I absolutely adore. Right, that's a really nice shape, a nice curve on the outside, and I really like that. So I just need to take this rim further in so we can create a foot. But so far so good. Wow, look at that. I'm sorry, but when you start looking closely at London Plane burl, it just completely and utterly comes alive. There's so much going on in there. You just wait till you see a finish put on this. Okay, that's the foot done. I did a couple more cuts up this side here because we've still got a little flat spot hiding from us. It's not very big. I'm going to get that, I would imagine, with a finishing cut, which we'll be doing in a second, because we've still got a bit of end grain tear out to worry about at the ends here where the spalting appears on the side. So I'm going to go and sharpen up my bowl gouge again. We'll take some slow cuts up here so we can try and eradicate as much of the tear out as possible, and then we'll start finishing off the foot area. Okay, a little bit of tidying up to do on that edge, but all the end grain problems we had there have gone completely. In fact, we've now got a beautifully shiny surface. Right, I was going to quickly sort out this little area where there's still a couple of problems, and then we'll move on to the foot. Okay, we're going to mark out for a reasonable size recess because I don't want it too small on this piece. So we'll get that cut, and then we'll sort out this edge here, make sure nothing needs refining on this bottom corner, and then we can start sanding, I think. Okay, I think that's going to do us very well. I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I'll bring you back when we're done. Okay, there we go. Let's sand it up to 320. We'll give it a quick wipe over with the isopropyl alcohol. This will help get the dust out the grooves, and it will also give us a first look at how this is going to look with a finish on. And I can't wait. Right, I'll let this evaporate. When it has, we'll come back on with a sealer, I think, and then after that we'll go on with an abrasive paste. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so on with our blonde shellac sealer. As there are a few possibly slightly softer areas in this wood, a nice shellac sealer will help to firm those up and give us a nice consistent finish depending on what we put on it after this. You can see, especially on the end grain there, it is sucking it in really quickly. I think I'm going to put 2 coats of this on. Okay, right, I'll let this dry, then I'll come back on with a second coat, then I'll bring you back when we're putting on the abrasive paste. Okay, that's had a couple of coats. It's all nice and dry now, so we're going to go on with Northern Grit abrasive paste. Now I'll put on a pair of safety glasses because this is rubbed into the piece as it's spinning. So I rub it onto the surface first and then buff it in as it's spinning. And the last thing you want is this stuff flying off and going in your eye, so please keep yourself safe if you do this. The way this works is that the abrasive in the paste refines the surface as it's spinning. So it ends up with an equivalent to about 1,000 grit finish. So I'll just turn the speed down slow initially. Start to rub it in. And as we progress, we'll slowly get faster and faster. Building to a maximum of about 600 to 700 RPM. Okay, that looks amazing. Right, quick wipe off with isopropyl alcohol just to make sure that there's no grit left on the surface before we put a final finish on. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so we're going to finish this piece with the Furniture Clinic wood and wax polish. We allow this to sit on the surface for a while after coating it thoroughly, and after about 20 minutes we come back and buff it off. Okay, right, I'll come back in 20 minutes, buff this off, and I'll bring you back once we've turned it around and start hollowing it out. Okay, right, we've turned it around and I've kind of forgotten how dark and black and horrible this surface is, but I'm sure we're going to clear that up in the not too distant future. Initially, we're going to start hollowing it out, trying to take away a lot of this centre. We've got a big height difference on the edge. We go from down there to up there, so that's going to be fun. But I'm sure as long as we take our time, we can manage quite comfortably. That's famous last words. Right, initially we're going to be turning this about 800 RPM, but hopefully once we get some of this mass out, we can pick it up to over 1000. Starting off with a 3/8 inch bowl gouge. Okay, it's going all right. It's always a very, very rocky road when you start hollowing out burls because you're hitting and missing and hitting and missing all the time. So it's a bit like driving downhill on cobbles or something like that. So we'll keep on going. Okay, I've reached the point where I've got to take the tailstock out of the way because it's stopping me to find the inside edge of this piece. So we'll pull it back, sharpen up again, and proceed with just a little bit more caution than before. Okay, more rocky road cutting. As you can see, we've kind of got an edge there, which is close to the final thickness, I think. Now it looks wider there because I haven't cleared the wood at the bottom here in order to be able to follow the inside curve of this across the bottom. So we're going to keep on clearing the wood from the inside. You'll see this edge get thinner and thinner, especially around here. And once we get below all of this bark, we can start again following the outside curve across the base. Hopefully we're going to get some of this spalting going all the way across the bottom. I would really love to see that. Okay, still going well. I've just sharpened up my 45-degree bowl gouge. This is a lot shallower angle on here, and it's going to allow me to be able to make this inside curve an awful lot easier. My standard 60-degree hybrid grind needs to be there to be rubbing on the bevel. And as you can see, that's just going to keep on hitting the edge. So the 45 just allows me to get in there a little bit closer. Okay, we're plodding on. It's quite difficult, I don't mind saying. We're just keeping an eye on the thickness of the walls as we go down and the thickness of the base. The walls are going to be going thinner, but I want to try and remove as much material as I can because that's going to be quite a tricky cut, and I don't want to have to keep on starting and stopping. I want to be able to have a nice fluid finishing cuts towards the end. to get a nice surface to save on sanding. But I have a feeling there is going to be a reasonable amount of sanding on this. We are getting closer to the bottom, so I just need to work on this transition and then start to thin the wall down a little bit. Really quite a tricky cut. Getting that curve in at the bottom is not easy. I may just have a quick go with the carbide, see what I can do with that. That is so much better. A little bit on that corner still to work through. I think I might just go a little bit thinner on these walls as well. Right, now I don't often do this because of having to change the camera angles, but this lathe does have the ability to swing out a little bit. Well, it'll go all the way out, it'll go all the way around. But having that out there means that I can work on this bit an awful lot easier than trying to lean over the bed of the lathe. So I'll just reposition everything for here. I'll move the cameras again in a second. Okay, there we go. Hopefully this change of position will allow me to get the final cuts in there so we can get this into a position where we can start to sand. Okay, that transition now to the bottom is just what I wanted. We've got a little bit of a raised area on the base, so I'll just need to sort that out, and then I think we've got it there. Okay, right. I am absolutely over the moon. I don't mind saying hollowing out pieces like this is really hard. Well, it's really hard for me anyway, with my limited abilities, but we got there. Right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and then I'll bring you back when we're done. Okay, that was an ordeal, but we got there. Such an interesting shape to try and sand. I am so pleased that we got that spalting running through the centre. I wasn't sure if that would happen or not, but it's done beautifully. This is just a bit of isopropyl alcohol just to wipe off any excess dust. When this is dry, we'll come back on with the shellac sealer. good chance to dry. So on again with the sealer. Man, this wood looks good. I'll do as I did on the outside. I'll put 2 coats of this on because the end grain and the slightly softer areas really are sucking this in quickly. I'll do the edge as well. Okay, right, I'll let this dry and I'll bring you back when I've applied the second coat. Okay, all nice and dry. So back on again with the abrasive paste. Same as before, rub it all over the surface and then turn the machine on and rub it in as it's spinning. My safety glasses are back on. Now we're going to have to be a little bit careful with our fingers. We've got an uneven edge, so keeping the hands nice and flat, nice and soft. We're applying a little bit of pressure, but we don't want to be catching our fingers on these bits. Wonderful. Right, final good clean out with isopropyl. Make sure you get it off the edges as well because it will be stuck there. Right, and when this is dried, I'll come back on with the final finish. Okay, all nice and dry, so back on with the Furniture Clinic wood and wax polish. It's got a glorious smell, this stuff. Absolutely love it. Right, remember, we'll leave this on for 20 minutes and then come and buff it off. I'll just do another quick coat to the outside as I'm here. Okay, that should do it. Right, I will wait 20 minutes patiently, then come back and buff this up. After that, I shall give a good old clear up, and then I shall bring you back and we shall take a look at what we've done. Well, there we go. A very pretty London plain burl bowl. Now, despite the difficulties this gave me, I've enjoyed pretty much every single second. Trying to hollow out this on the inside was certainly a challenge. There's so many different things which are causing problems. First of all, having to go in and then across is always tricky. Having the high sides and low sides again makes it harder than it possibly should be. And also, it's not my strongest area, so there is some definite improvements to be made there on my part. But we got there. It's not perfect across the bottom. There are a couple of little marks, but I'm pretty happy with it. The spalting on this piece really is absolutely phenomenal. We've got it going all the way across the base from both sides, mirroring what we have on the outside. And it just gives the piece that little bit extra. Not that it really needs it, because if you were to look very, very closely at the pattern of the grain between the burls, you will be absolutely astounded. The cameras probably don't give it full justice, so I'm going to quickly put a photograph on the screen now just to give you an idea of what I'm looking at in here and what's got me so excited. Hopefully you can see how absolutely amazing it is. I will of course be putting some high-res photos at the end and on all my social media pages. Well, there we go. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things, and if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely amazing. I would like to say a huge shout out and thank you to Ellen and Kathy for supporting me this week through YouTube and through buying me a coffee. All the support that's given to the channel is put straight back into buying more equipment, more beautiful wood, and to help keep the lights on. So if you would like to help support the channel, then there's always links at the end and in the description. Right, this piece will be making its way onto the shop in the next few days. It may be there already. I'm not quite sure if I've had time yet to put it up. There will be some other pieces going up as well. I apologise that I've not had a chance to restock after everything's sold out, but things have been incredibly busy, but hopefully I will sort it all out soon. Well, there we go. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Thank you.